right, welcome to my Boss Studio walkthrough. I do not have the amp connected. I'm working in offline mode right now. So everything is pretty much set to the norm or centered or off. And so we'll start up here at the top. We have four buttons that we can select from. We have an editor, which we'll dive into here shortly. We have a librarian, so we can store all of our patches if we want to. We have I don't want to click on this because it'll take forever to load, but we have Tone Central, which allows us to go out and grab tones that other people have created or share our own. And then here we have the system. So let's go ahead and start with the system first. With the system, we have the ability to change the line out setting. I've never played with this at all. I've kept it pretty much on live because that's what I use the amp for. Power amp in setting, high pass filter type, high pass frequency. So you have the ability to shape a little bit as far as what's going into the power amp. Global EQ, you can set the type of EQ that you want, parametric or graphic equalizer, however you want to do it. You can set this up, position where do you want it. You want it at the input side or the output side. It's entirely up to you how these work, and everybody has their mojo. USB setting, the MIDI setting, if you use MIDI for this, there's the owner's manual here. Device setting, select device. I'm not going to go through any of that stuff. And then last on the list, you have the ability to back up all of your data to and restore it from a file. So that's the system. In the editor, we'll spend quite a bit of time here because it can get very deep. The thing about the editor is it allows you to do things here that you cannot do on the front panel. For example, if you mess with the delay on the front panel, it changes a number of different parameters at the same time. If you want something like a slapback delay, it's very difficult to get that because if you increase the volume of the delay, you're also increasing the number of repeats. So this software allows you to go into, for example, the delay section and set the delay time, the number of repeats. Basically, it's a sliding scale from 0 to 100. That doesn't mean 25 repeats. It just means a quarter of the available repeats. If you want to put a high cut on your delay, which I often do, you can do that here. You can adjust the mix of the effect with the original dry signal, and then you can set the direct output to set the level of both signals when you engage the delay. You can also, of course, select the delay type. So that's just one example. If we go here to effects, we see a listing of all the available for effects: booster, mod, FX, delay, and reverb. We can select which effects we want to use here. It's much easier. It shows you that the red uh, and yellow and green colors and what's represented for each one. So you can assign those here. Which means that when you're looking at the front panel, you get to pick what you switch between when you decide to press one of these buttons up here on the front panel. The chain gives you the opportunity to adjust the order in which the effects are applied. And then we get into the individual effects themselves. Booster, and again, all of these things are things that can be changed. Our mod, chorus, we can pick tremolo, we get to pick our wave shape, our rate, our depth, and level. And of course, you're not going to pick these by the numbers. You're going to pick these by connecting up your amp and tweaking them as you go. And when you find something you like, you're going to click here and you're going to click on write, and it will write whatever we have into that location on the amp. Of course, that won't happen here because I am in remote mode. So Our effects, again, we can pick our effects, we can turn them off, we can turn them on. So when you go to that patch, if for example, you turn effects on here, then every time you return to that, those effects will be on. So you can specify for the initial tone setting here, and we can call that, we could rename it if we wanted to, but we can decide which of the effects we want to have on and which ones we want to be able to turn on from the panel. So, it's a very nice thing to be able to set up all of your different patches. If you have the optional foot controller, which I have, it allows you to switch between these patches, and it also allows you to pick a patch and turn effects on and off, which is basically what we're doing here with this button. So if this button is lit, when you select that patch on the front panel, that effect will be active. Over here, pedal effects, input post amp. So if you have pedal FX, which you may do, you may have an expression pedal that you use for this. This allows you to pick what effect it's going to be, where it's going to be located on the input or output side. We talked about our EQ already a little bit. Where is the EQ at amp input, amp output? Here, NS, we have a noise suppressor, which is really nice. Threshold and release. We also, somewhere in here, I don't remember exactly where it is, but there is a compressor. Not sure. We might have to look around for that, but there is a compressor built in here. Somewhere, it might be an EQ, I'm not sure. So that's something that you're going to have to look for if you want to use it. I've found it and I've used it, but I have no idea where it is in the software, but there is a compressor available. Send and return, if you use your send and return, and I use mine for a foot pedal, a volume pedal, and I can specify where that send and return happens. Does it happen after the amp or before the amp? Is it in series or is it in parallel? If it's in series, then it controls the everything in that mix. If it's in parallel, then you would use that for an effects loop so that you could add some extra effects and have them mixed in with the original signal going through the effects that the amp has. I hope that makes some kind of sense. So once you've got your tone the way you like it, you can click on write, and it will write it to the software and it will write it to your amp. At that point, your amp now has that tone in it, and it has replaced the tone that was there before. So what you might want to do is, you notice that you have 8 different tones here that are available. From the front panel, I think there's a button that you push to get to, you have to like double press a button or something to get to the second set of tones, because you have 4 that are on your buttons that you have available. You can either select set A or set B. I only use really 1 or 2 tones, so a lot of this I really don't spend a whole lot of time using, but it is all there. And again, if you go into system, you do have the owner's manual, and you can download the owner's manual for this software, and that should guide you through pretty much anything you would need to have. So in summary, very powerful tool. It allows you to get in there and do things that you cannot do otherwise. That becomes a problem if you're on stage, but it's really nice to be able to customize your tones to get them exactly the way you want to do it. And I know you're going to want to do that. So I spent probably 8 or 10 hours playing with this, especially for me, dealing with the clean and acoustic. Because I play pedal steel, I generally don't use any of the distortion here. Although, even if you're on clean, you can still get distortion by using this boost function. So on the clean settings, the boost can be used to give you distortion. On the distorted settings, the boost does exactly what it says and boosts the amount of signal that you have. So I do not believe in the 50 watt or 100-watt plain version. I think it's only the artist version that this modern selection does anything, and I don't believe that the presence does anything either in the lower priced models. The artist, which has the knobs on the front panel, has some extra capabilities that the other versions do not have. So that really concludes my walkthrough. Hopefully, this will help you. And as always, if you have any questions, get a hold of me and I'll be more than happy to look into it for you. Thanks. See ya.